I want to talk real quick because I had another video that I wanted to post, but I don't really like it. I don't like the video. So I want to talk real quick about the respectability politics in the black community. Like, look, I'm all for morals. I'm all for respect. Don't get me wrong. I feel like you should have some type of judgment, some type of respectability in your bones. So when you go out into this harsh world and people are trying to sway you left and right, you already got your morals intact. However, for our hoodlums, for our gangsters, gang bangers, our pew pew, for our promiscuous women, our our mistresses, I do think they deserve some respect and some protection. And a lot of people, this will be controversial, this will be an unpopular opinion, because in the black community, it's like a lot of people's goal, we're frequently bombarded with negative stereotypes, and we want to get away with that. We want to get away with being called a thief, with our youth being shot down because like what they're walking to the store. We want to do away with all of those things, and we want to join the prestigious sororities and go to the best universities and go move to the suburbs with our family and live that nuclear life. Leave the hood in the hood and the hoodlums with it. However, this only affects us in the end. When you really think about it, when you think about economics and wealth, and the fact that those children are like that for a reason, because a lot of them are children, they're underage. If you're looking at a 17, 18 year, not, but that's still young. If you're looking at a 17, 18-year-old child that's coming up in the hood and that's their whole environment, and your first idea is to just bury them under the jail, or leave that thought where she at, like treat them as if they're subhuman, like they don't deserve some type of higher education. Because you have to think, in these communities, I'm moving ahead of myself, so this pursuit leads to a troubling trend. We are encouraged to leave our communities, inadvertently contributing to the wealth of other communities, and instead of supporting our own. Unlike Jews, unlike other persecuted groups of people, who we disperse, weakening our collective economic base. The Jewish concept of Zionism, for instance, reflects a profound understanding of persecution and the subsequent fight for a secure homeland in Israel, a national religious identity intertwined. The whole reason that they have Israel is because they literally carved out a whole lane where they're like, look, y'all persecuting us. It's not safe for us to be anywhere around y'all. Let's go have our own place that's ours. Let's go steal our own place that's ours. Pro-Palestine, free Palestine. But we're talking about here in America, something that we need to be doing is speaking up. Maybe that'll get us a little bit more help. And we don't need no help. We need to help ourselves. But I'm getting ahead of myself again. Despite the negative portrayal of urban communities, many of us emerge with invaluable knowledge and resilience. While suburban residents might look smart and they might be book smart and nerdy, they often lack critical thinking skills and survival skills, and they wouldn't be able to pop a bubble if you put it in front of them. These people are like, I went to a school in the suburbs of Chicago, and I've also been to a school that wasn't in the suburbs, and I'll tell you how it felt in both. In that hood school, I developed a lot of anxiety. I won't lie. Like, girls wanting to fight you every day, not the best feeling. It's not the best feeling of being like verbally bullied and stuff. But I mean, these suburban schools, same thing. They're going to do the same thing, except like these are suburban people coming at you. They would be like, go back to the suburb. Like, I got told, go back to the suburbs in the suburbs. It was crazy. So I was like, But apart from that, that's just individual basis experiences. But apart from that, those people in the suburbs, though, like really, if you look into their book smarts, ask them, Ask them anything that's outside of what they've learned in school. These people can't even fathom. Their brain can't even think about anything outside of what they have already learned. It's like, that's why I respect homeschooled people. I was homeschooled. I also went to public school. But this is why I'm pro homeschool, because if you have the right parent and you have the right teacher and you just have the right brain, like, you will learn so much more than you can learn in regular school. But they don't tell you that. But that's just my opinion, y'all. Don't fight me. Don't fight me. I'm sure it is some great, well-rounded suburban people like I am. But it's like, a lot of them, no, they did not have it. They did not have it. Just on the critical thinking side. Like, they don't live outside of their bubble. Like, life is so safe to them. These people can't even fathom having to defend themselves. Something that I've heard so many times in the suburbs. Like, why don't you want to defend yourself? That's the first law of nature, human preservation. Like, I am scared at people that just want to sit down and let other people run over them. Or worse, someone that will let someone hurt them, harm them, pew them, and not even try to defend yourself. Like, yes, we're women, but that's why women are the most targeted people on earth, especially black women and minorities, because if you're out here in your suburban bubble not even wanting to defend yourself against your perpetrator, those are the main people that voted for Democrat. I won't lie. Don't be putting words in my mouth. I'm independent. It's whoever has the best in mind for us, and who has the best in mind for us. Not no felon. If felons can't vote, I'm not voting for no felon, period. So I'm not voting for no felon until felons can vote. It's a shame that there is judges out here on house arrest, on a ban, that could send you to jail. I'm disturbed by 2024. Their approach is often rigid and based solely on formal education, which I find deeply flawed. Growing up in the hood, I never had a record, nor was I violent. I'm articulate, intelligent, analytical, and possess strong synthesis skills. Currently, I'm in college and working on opening my own homeschooling center. And I have a real issue with people who simply follow the public school system and they don't really think with their brain about what's going on in the world, like about life. You have to look at the bigger picture. Too many of our suburban lawyers oppose black people instead of supporting them. Too many real estate agents exploit poor black individuals, pandering to other communities instead of helping their own. This behavior stems from a misguided respectability politics within our community.
In this book, Cornel West uses the term race distancing elitists. And just listen to this definition and tell me if it sounds familiar. And this is originally in the context of Black scholars and academics, but I definitely think it applies to Black political thought leaders like Candace. Race distancing elitists, quote, they often view themselves as the talented 10th who have a near monopoly on the sophisticated and cultured gaze of what is wrong with Black America. They revel in severe denigration of much Black behavior, yet posit little potential or possibility in Afro-America. At times, their criticism is incisive, yet it often denigrates into a revealing self-hatred. They tend to distance themselves from Black America by ironically calling attention to their own cantankerous mark.
And I'm from Chicago, but I would say where I've seen this the worst, Georgia, where I've seen this the worst, where you have Black faces everywhere. Black faces, not Black owned, but Black faces everywhere. And he's saying Black faces will be the first to turn you away because you don't have the amount of money that they're looking for. If you don't look a certain way out here, and if you're not coming with resources and knowledge that could really like benefit people, bro, that networking stuff is out the window. And people really do look for that. They're really looking for like people that have trade skills, people that have knowledge in obscure areas like your history, people who want to own schools, people who want to own daycares, people who are entrepreneurs. Like, they're not looking really for your 9-to-5ers. Too many of them end up just turning their back on the community, and this behavior stems from their misguided respectability politics, denouncing those who don't meet certain standards of what's deemed as a respectable Negro to them. These characteristics of prestigious religious people, traditional conservative people, are often praised by the media, which uses such individuals to push an agenda. These individuals are often given platforms over more balanced voices who can understand that these issues are not unique to our community.
And prove to me that black people are violent and that they're going to take over, and I can open up the New York Daily News and show you white people who are killing their daughters, their husbands, their wives, their children, killing each other off. Well, if we put that in the paper and make it black and white, which is where the whole thing happens. It's in the paper. If a black man does something, it says, John Jones, black list, said black, 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 and did the black, black. Now, if a white man does it, it isn't white man Jones. It's just a man. Nondescript, just a regular old raggedy man, went out, killed his 2 daughters and his wife, and shot himself. Now, if he does that, then everybody seems to just either sympathize with it or let it go out the window. But if a black man does it, then any white bigot can point his finger and say, see that? There they go again. Well, that isn't right. It isn't right. And it isn't right to try and let them...
Historically, many crimes and issues attributed to the black community are not new. For example, other societies forced into crammed living conditions have faced similar problems. Italians are often praised for their wealth despite having a history of illegal gambling, selling pornography, and other illicit activities. People talk about how they flipped their wealth, they cleaned it, and they talk down on us for not, on the black community, on our black hoodlums, on our black thugs for not flipping their wealth. And yeah, I'll say I agree. Like, there are certain things that we need to take from history. Like, you got to be smarter. People are forced into a cramped living position where they're putting buildings on top of each other. It's going to create turf wars. That's just what this is. This is turf war. And I'm going to go into a full video explaining the psychology behind street crime and turf wars, the innate nature of people when they're crammed into poor living conditions. They don't have money, they don't have resources. What will happen? And this is backed by science and facts, so I'll do a full video on that. But apart from that, rather than stigmatizing these people's deeds, society often views their rise to power as admirable. The notion that acceptance in society requires black individuals to conform to European standards is pervasive and problematic. This extends to aspects of our culture such as the bold styles of our pink wig girlies, which should be understood within the context of the limited resources historically available to black Americans compared to their white counterparts. Our extravagant dress and vibrant culture are expressions of resilience and creativity deserving of acceptance and celebration. Respectability politics and the idea that the marginalized groups must adhere to the dominant culture's behavioral codes to be deemed acceptable imposes an undue burden on people of color. As incidents of police brutality, hate crimes, and white supremacist propaganda increase, people of color communities are pushing back against these oppressive and outdated expectations.
Understand that if active duty military actually get deployed within the United States, that weapon is not just pointed at other people, other countries. It's pointed at you.
That has spread throughout our country. We will end it now. Today, I have strongly recommended to every governor to deploy the National Guard in sufficient numbers that we dominate the streets. Mayors and governors must establish an overwhelming law enforcement presence until the violence has been quelled. If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
The perpetuation of the acceptable Negro ideal by leaders like Candace Owens and Barack Obama further exacerbates these issues. They have been criticized for undermining or enabling violence against Black individuals who they feel are labeled as thugs. And this perpetuation of the acceptable Negro ideal often leads to calls for excessive police force and violence among the Black community. And you may feel like this isn't affecting you because you're like, okay, they're getting the hoodlums off the block. Okay, cool. Like, why wouldn't we want that? But this absolutely, if you're living in that area, this will affect you, and this will affect you even if you're just shopping in that area. Like,
same organizers now going back into these communities to try to clean up in the aftermath of a handful of protesters, a handful of criminals and thugs who tore up the place.
These are police officers who killed unarmed citizens and what prison they are currently at. Number 1, Derek Chauvin. He is the cop who killed George Floyd on May 25th, 2020. And he is currently serving a 21-year sentence at FCI Tucson in Tucson, Arizona. And his release date is April 7th, 2038. Number 2, Michael Slager. He is the cop who killed Walter Scott on April 4th, 2015 in North Charleston, South Carolina. And he is currently serving a 20-year sentence at FCI Inglewood in Colorado. And his release date is August 16th, 2032. Number 3, Thomas Lane. He is also another cop that was involved in the death of George Floyd. And he was also serving a 3-year sentence at FCI Inglewood in Colorado, but he was just released from prison yesterday. Number 4, Aaron Dean. He is the cop who killed Tatiana Jefferson on October 12, 2019 in Fort Worth, Texas. And he is currently serving an 11-year, 10-month sentence at the W.F. Ramsey Unit in Rocheron, Texas. And his release date is October 25th, 2034. Number 5, Numan Raja. He is the cop who killed 31-year-old Corey Jones in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida on October 18th, 2015, while Corey was waiting on a tow truck to pick up his disabled car. And as for Numan, he is currently serving a 25-year sentence at the Everglades Correctional Institute in Florida. And his release date is February 27th, 2044. Number 6, James Ashby. He is the cop who killed 26-year-old Jack Jaquez in Colorado in 2014. And it is said Officer Ashby followed Jack into his mom's house, thinking he was a burglar when he shot Jack in the back. But as for James Ashby, he is currently serving a 16-year sentence at the Delta Correctional Facility in Colorado. And his release date is December 20th, 2029. Number 7, Roy Oliver. He is the cop who killed 15-year-old Jordan Edwards on April 29th, 2017 in Dallas, Texas. And it is said during this incident, Roy Oliver fired 5 shots from an assault rifle, which resulted in Jordan being struck in back of the head while he was sitting in back of his friend's car. And as for Roy today, he is currently serving a 16-year prison sentence.
Code switching was once a language of adoption, and this is something that we see often in celebrities who use Black trauma to get us to buy their sales. Figures like our fave, Beyonce, she outwardly made a whole album about African heritage and pride, but she also engages in code switching because right after making a whole album about African heritage, Ifa, pride, the girl made a Christian album, and a white country album. She always has to also make her other audience happy, which will always happen when you're making 2 audiences happy. So it is what it is. Another thing, her husband, a part of what makes him this greedy capitalist monster, a real parasite to the Black community. The reason he even bought the share, this was during a time where the Brooklyn area was getting gentrified around the Brooklyn Nets Stadium, and they didn't want it to be gentrified. There was protests, and Jay-Z buys a share. Oh, Black man coming in. Okay, so now it's better. We are more okay with you gentrifying this area.
Rapper Jay-Z, who grew up in the Marcy Projects, had garnered lots of criticisms for his role in gentrifying Brooklyn. Jay-Z earned less than a 1% share of the Barclays Center, but helped got the $1 billion basketball arena built not too far from his own neighborhood. When the Barclays Center opened, Jay-Z performed about 8 shows 2.5 blocks away from the Barclays Center. Jay-Z has not been shy in talking about gentrification in his lyrics. During a Nipsey Hussle tribute freestyle, Jay-Z was quoted saying, "Gentrify your own hood before these people do it." Also, in Jay-Z's song, Story of OJ, Jay's lyrics read, "I could have bought a place in Dumbo before it was Dumbo for like $2 million. That same building today is worth $25 million. Guess how I'm feeling? Dumbo."
Our culture has adapted to celebrating capitalism. It is most African Americans' dream to own a home in the suburbs, send your kids to private school, live a life of the nuclear family, attend church, and separate yourself from the urban community you may have came from. While I advocate for giving your children the best education possible, with the schools in each neighborhood being run and funded based on the economic income of the families in that neighborhood, in predominantly urban, predominantly Black neighborhoods, it's very evident why they're underfunded and poor and they have less resources. This is clearly because when you're moving out of your neighborhood are high earners. There's like, let's talk Gary, Indiana. Gary, Indiana is an underfunded community with underfunded schools. The mayor of Gary isn't even living in Gary. They're living outside of Gary in a predominantly white suburban area, sending their kids to a private school outside of Gary, taking his wealth and his money outside of Gary when he could be helping the economy go up and helping those schools get more funding either by staying there or by helping us, the mayor. But why would you do that? This is why high earning blacks should stay in our communities, raising the economy and helping the schools flourish. I understand that there's problems with crime in the community and issues with safety, which is why we should have moral codes in the black community. You shouldn't just be like shooting up the place around kids and women. Keep your business your business. There was things that the Italians did, the Scottish did. There was so many gangs before us. And you should really do some research if that's the life you want to live, and learn how to be an organized criminal like the CIA or the mafia. They do it all the time. So I'm not saying I'm for crime though, but if you want to use your Second Amendment right, go ahead. Who's stop you? Because people using it. So when you're moving outside of these neighborhoods, outside of your neighborhood, as the mayor, you're looking sick, because these neighborhoods wouldn't even let your citizens take a bus throughout their community. Yet you're sitting here trying to send your kids to a white school that's out there. So that's my rant, y'all. No matter what you decide to do what you want to do what you love, do what makes your family happy. Like, if you absolutely can't live in the hood anymore, move out, go fast. But there are predominantly black suburban areas that you can also move into just to help the economy in that place, or you could build your own community, because these are things that we could start thinking of. Our real estate agents, our lawyer, like, build my own predominantly safe black community.
The cost of being black? Well, if you live in a predominantly black neighborhood, then literally like millions of dollars. Millions! Please, explain. You're in the 1930s, right? And the government just started using these color-coded maps to determine which neighborhoods they would lend to. If you were white, you'd be in the green zone, which is the safest for lending. You do not want to be in the red zone. Why not? Red zones are minority neighborhoods, and the government deemed them way too risky for mortgage lending. So without the federal guarantee, banks wouldn't lend to black people in these areas. And if you did end up getting a mortgage, it was rigged against you to increase your chances of being evicted. But that's not even the worst part. It gets even worse. See, most Americans build generational wealth through home ownership, right? Well, because families of color were denied that opportunity for decades, they were never able to catch up. That's why the average white family now has 8 times more wealth than the average black family. Redlining literally robbed countless families of color out of millions of dollars in generational wealth. Oh, that is so messed up. Good thing it's over though. Yeah, except it's not over. Where can I learn more? Read the book The Color of Law and follow Josh for more.